The virus Titan! It's just lobbing cars everywhere! Oh, the calamity! On the table today at Squirrel Stampede, we are back with the More Finer Things Club of Godzilla figures, SH MonsterArts. Last time there was a serious throwdown battle at New Plastic Tokyo City with Godzilla 54. I hope they rebuilt that city. But now we're checking out SH MonsterArts 2023. We've gone old and now branded new with -1 Godzilla Ultra Spikiness. Also throwing in a Super7 Ultimates Godzilla I picked up a few months ago, finally being able to open today and share it together with SH MonsterArts. Which one will be the better? We will see, and hopefully they will leave New Plastic Tokyo City okay after its repair. I'm not sure about that. Some things are already starting to fester, but it's gonna be a wild video. Check it out with us. Follow along as we check out some really fancy Godzilla figures.
Squirrel Stampede.
Please like
Share.
and Squirrel Live.
This is a SH MonsterArts Godzilla 2023 Godzilla -1 high value articulated action figure. This is also the weirdest box because I can't tell what is the front or the back. This side has a window, and I am today years old that I finally realized that is a giant G. This side has a window which makes you feel like this is the front of the pack, but then it has like all the fine print that makes you feel like it's the back of the box. So a little confusing there. In fact, there's the tape tab. I think this would be the official back of the box with the window. And then there, Godzilla, a full color print on the front of the box. Also, for being such a fancy toy, the box just has this like give to it that does not feel fancy, feels kind of paperweight. Stickbot Monkey does want to say light goes through the top and helps illuminate Godzilla in there, but kind of like Godzilla 54 here, they're really hard to see inside the pack. They're like enshrouded and wrapped with plastic, tied down pretty tight in there. But there's also a lot of wasted space inside these boxes, which creates a dilemma. Do I keep these boxes? They're beautiful. These toys are way too expensive to throw the boxes away. And so now I have to store said boxes, and I have very little storage room. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that dilemma. Let's just open up. Anybody else using a spike fruit to open packages, by the way? And so we peer inside, and again, look at all that wasted packaging. It could be half the size, really. Is it the tail that does that? Could be the tail. It's pretty long. Wow, so look at the size of this beast. In scale, though, I believe with 54 here, so they're all about the same in scale, which will be perfect for like a collector's shelf. And well, let's remove the shell as Godzilla Air enters the cabin. Yeah, they could have saved so much packaging by removing the tail. I suppose they just didn't want to compromise this figure, keeping his tail in fully factory sealed plastic sheeting. Well, there it is. And I'm even more wowed than I thought I would be. The second SH MonsterArts Godzilla on the table. So spiky, so spiky. So the first thing I've noticed with the first time I opened an SH MonsterArts figureness is the crunchiness. Uh-oh. And maybe the breakiness. A lot of people have recommended I test out a Hayatoys next because of their breakability of lessness, as the SH MonsterArts can be a little fragile. But these are not really necessarily meant for high play. They're meant for more just display and just light touch. But you know, you still want to have a toy that you cannot be worried about it falling to dust, right? But what I noticed with 54 is like the crunchiness as his hand falls off. That's not good. It's not good. That's not very helpful, Godzilla. But the crunchiness of the figure. Oh, I hope this isn't a theme of this figure. 54 actually held up really well. I had very little problems with 54, just other than its hips. So it's a very crunchy figure. It's a very tactile figure. They're so rough. Rice Krispies, I like to call it. And oh, ow, these spines. Are you seeing these spines that I'm seeing? These are the most prickly, sharpish things I've ever seen. Extremely worried about these breaking because they are so tight and sharp. Gonna have to build like a protective cage for this guy to keep him safe. Just high detail going all the way down these spikes and tail. It's like a barbed wire fence. You could use this guy to scrape off barnacles from your car. if your car had barnacles? How about your boat instead? So fantastic spikes, I'm just highly worried about breaking them. So 54 here had a ton of articulation. I think I even counted, say, 40 plus points, especially in these tails. How does SH MonsterArts -1 do it? Starting near the fantastically sculpted head, I see less in the neck than what we saw with 54, only a couple points on that neck. 54 had like 4, but we still have an opening and closing jaw. Not very wide, but it is doable. And for mobility right now, it's pretty tight. I'm not getting much. I think you have to play with these joints a little bit to kind of loosen them up, but there is a lot of tightness in the layers and how all the detail and sculpt fits together. So it's a little limited. I would say it's more limited than 54. It could be a little bit better. It's something I'll have to play more with, but I really don't want to play too far and break something. Arms look in line with 54 with shoulders that rotate and rotate out as well at a second point midway. And then there may even be another point in here, which is sometimes hard to decipher on these. Sometimes there's just fitted points that have a seam, but not really are meant to be an articulated point. Or maybe they are, and it's just so subtle, it's hard to find. Having a little bit trouble bending these arms. It is really tight. The mobility is really stiff. And then these hands, they rotate on a ball joint, but like we saw with this hand, they could pop off pretty easy. Down to the waist and hips, we've got some waist rotation there, and that one's bobbing fairly well. I'm okay with that. This one I believe is a fake point. And then our giant hips. Wow, we've got big hips and legs and thighs for -1, don't we? I wonder if it's like a scaling thing where it made him look even bigger by starting the camera up at these giant leg sides and then moving up as he gets smaller up top. Gives him that impression of immense height and scale. Or, you know, you need to have a giant leg structure to hold this guy up. So it feels like a little less than 54 in the knees. He had double jointed knees, but there is something in here too. Well, maybe that is a double joint. I see some movement in there. It is really hard to decipher this guy. Kind of hard to see too. There is some point movements in there, some shells. There's a lot of shells that make these guys together. As for toes though, we actually have articulated toes on the feet, which is pretty neat. I don't think I expected that. This might be the first Godzilla I've opened that has 3 toes that you can move about. Michelangelo from Turtles would be very excited about that. So 3 toes there that you can articulate. That is fun. So when he smashes the burger bar, his toes will articulate around it and look all lifelike. Now please don't do that to the burger bar. I'm just so impressed. I'm just so impressed with these toes and the feet work of this figure. Uh-oh, where did that come from? Oh good, squash it good. Hex bug infestation again here. And then around to the back and tail. Around to the back and tail. Again, there is so much extra points of articulation in the tails on these. It's really almost therapeutic to kind of move and roll these about. How many points do we have on the tail this time? It's like a game show. How many points are on Godzilla's tail? It starts off really hard to see. I believe this here is a point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 16 articulated points with that 17th at the very end. So really quite crazy, and you can kind of lay it down. You just have to be really slow because the ball joints might pop on you, and you can lift them up. See, I'm losing that one pretty easily, unfortunately, and I can move side to side. But sadly, my -1 today has a lot more breakable points, let loose ball joints, than I encountered with my 54. But still, quite the funness. And so, ow, spiky! So the articulation is there, it's just highly stiff, and you're gonna have to work on him to maybe get that point where you need it to go. But most likely he's pretty lumbery. I usually just keep him in this position, close to this position, and just step on things. Paintwork kind of like 54. You got a base color of an olive dark green and then some spattering of tannish brown throughout. Maybe a little spray there, here, there. This one feeling more oceanic, naval, washed up ashore. Almost like you would see a barnacle on this one. And a tinier head with -1, much smaller head, so a little harder to capture the detail there. You got these teeth I can see, and almost a reddish eye in there, almost an eye that appears red. I might just be seeing that. I don't see an atomic blast included with this one. There's no accessories with this one either to highlight some of the things he does. I'd say the sculpt is really well done on this one, but maybe the articulation is a little bit needing some work. I could possibly stick in 54's Atomic Blast. We all know the Atomic Blast of this guy, though, was a little bit overpowered. So overall, I'm liking this one, although the price point was much higher than 54. 54 was a nice 110, 120, I think. Whereas -1 was up to about 140, so a couple 20s more. And the fact that he feels a little more fragile makes me not want to throw him down as hard as I would 54 here. 54 here felt a little more rugged and ready to go. But it's certainly fun to see these two together. I do have another SH MonsterArts review upcoming with Godzilla, the New Empire. It will be really fun to see those three then all standing together, but that's for another time. I wanted to collect some fancier Godzilla figures, and I don't want too many because the price point is pretty crazy high. In fact, this review is probably going way over budget, as we are about to talk about the next Godzilla, and that is the Super7 Ultimates Godzilla -1. So I actually found this one last fall for a way better deal on Amazon. I think they typically run about 100, but I think I got this guy down to 60 on a good seasonal sale price. And he's huge. Although I have kind of like an interesting experience with the Super7 over the years. I've had trouble with the reaction figures just completely falling apart, like seams breaking apart, more so than ball joints breaking, but just seams falling apart. But recently they've been better, so I'm giving them more chances. And I'm still pretty impressed with the Super7 Godzilla Ultimates 1989 that we opened last year. This one was really fantastic too in the size and in that tail therapeutic department. I could literally sit in my office studio doing this for hours. Liking the box with this one a little more than SH MonsterArts, not as crazy big, but still really difficult to see this guy in package because it's such a dark figure, hard to get light on it. Certainly not as much wasted space, but actually there's still some ocean in there. And so getting out, thank you Spike Fruit. This has got all sorts of 2024 air still inside this package. I really like 54 when he lunges forward like this, so lizard-like. Is there anything more difficult than trying to unbox or slide a box out of a box of a trapezoid shape? Polygon trapezoidal shape are so difficult to open. Just make it square, please. There is no way to do that in the space that we had, and he's still so very dark to see on camera. Getting better though. Wow though. This is a scale up indeed. I love the back wall packaging of this one. It's so muddy. It's so WW2. And well, what else can we do? How are we gonna get this one out? I want to say I crushed and threw out the box of the 89 Godzilla because these were just too cumbersome to deal with. Not sure about this one just yet. A lot of tape involved. Lots of tape. SH was basically just like lightly placed in. How funny. And so will this be my next therapeutic tail? And now, oh now, I just have to like remove all this stuff. So it's gonna take me a few minutes. I wanna do this gently because I do not wanna break these back spines. So give me 5 minutes. All right, drum roll please. There we go, Super7 Ultimates Godzilla, along with the new villain. He's actually packaged with a second monster, the Tyzillus Titan Virus. I have never met a more complicated and fearsome fighter as this tie-down was of -1 Godzilla. Not only tied down twisty, but like somehow double knotted under itself and around. It took a good 15 minutes to get this Godzilla out of pack with the Virus Tyzillus Titan here, ready to attack any city. But we're here for Ultimates Godzilla, and it's pretty impressive out of the box. Scale, enormous. This guy is topping out at a whopping 8 inches in height, whereas SH MonsterArts are 6-inch figures. So he's big, and really painful to install that tail. I'm not even sure if I installed correctly. We will see. So first, thoughts, a little glossier than SH MonsterArts, and a sculpted improvement over 89. 89 had lots of joints and seams visible throughout his body. You can really see the points of articulation stand out, whereas -1, they're hidden more within the detail of the sculpt. Plastic quality on the main body, not as crunchy as an SH, but still pretty chunky. Although there is an improvement on these back spines, they're a softer rubber, which makes me feel like they'll be much safer in the long run. I'm very worried to touch these back here. So the sculpting department really went into overdrive with this one. He is looking mighty and is improving the Super7 brand by 1,000-fold. And give credit where credit is due, the wiring department, total monsters. Oh, I don't know how many points we counted with this one for articulation. 35, 40 again. That tail just fills up the screen, and I think this one's gonna be full too. We've got head rotation up top, and boy, what a head. The 8-inch size certainly gives us a way better look at his head. SH 6-inch is just too small to get any solid detail out of. Scaling up provides a better look at his eyes and teeth, and those Ankylosaurus-like head spikes. Now this one does not have an articulated jaw though. They give you a head switch out option if you want something with an open jaw. I'm having such a tight problem with the Super7 ball joints though, I'm just gonna leave it off. I feel like it'll be just a chore to get them switched. And so the rest of the neck, I've got one solid chunk of articulation here, but it's working a lot more smoother than what I have to see with SH. Arms too look about as basic as they come. We've got a shoulder that can reach out, rotate, that secondary point mid-arm, an elbow that actually does a little more there. It's still pretty tight in here. He's a lumbering dude, so it's kind of how it is. And the more you kind of rotate, the better it's gonna get, but I'm getting better mobility here again, but it is the scale that helps this out. Body up torso top has some articulation to bob around, probably a solid huge ball joint, and then legs, the thick giant legs. They don't feel as thick for some reason at the scale, but there is a point here at the hips which is very tight, but it's getting loosened up. And we've got a knee here, kind of that hidden double jointed knee maybe, or maybe it's just a single joint. I think it's just a single joint with this one. Always hidden under the giant thigh. No moving toes with this one, but we do have an ankle that looks to be able to rotate and hinge here and there, but it's pretty tight and thick. It's so thick, it's hard to work with. The tail. I do not know if I got this installed right. It kept falling off. I'm gonna blame the tie-down monster on that too. The tail is a huge ball joint, and it's so hard to jam in because your hands are just murdered by all these spikes. I'm surprised I don't have the markings on my hands still. It was murder, just murder to put this on, and it may just pop right back off. It was not installing very well. So the tail is very loose at its point of origin. And then the rest of the tail though, very similar to my friend 89. Although not as crunchy. There are multiple points in here, but it lacks that really satisfying sound that we heard from 89. And so counting up the tail segments a little bit less than the SH MonsterArts, they kind of trick you with double segments combined, but I think this giant one starts us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 segments. 89 had twice the segments there, but maybe that's just about right. I think if you go overboard on it, then maybe it gets a little bit breakable, but yeah, it's good. It's not a bad thing. And like SH, overall paint pretty good. A solid deep base green, a dark green, maybe forest green or darker, with a lighter touch of olive detailing through here and there, some gradient sprays. Pretty good. So out of these two, which one would be my favorite? That is a tough call. Scale maybe conquers all, but small takes on a harder fall. If I was forced, I think I would give a few extra points to the Ultimates. The higher scale gives higher results, but I'm certainly still very much liking the SH MonsterArts. And we can't forget about this one. The Godzilla Bandai Namco action figure line we looked at a few months back. Now this one was fun because it just wasn't so ultra fancy. I have no worry about these back spines breaking off. The articulation is good enough to lumber and crash into a city. Paintwork basic, but does the job. Sometimes simpler is better and much easier to work with. So now there are 3 -1 Godzillas on the table, and I can't really decide which one I like the most. They're all really quite fun in their own ways. Oh no, I wasn't paying attention. The Virus Titan. It has begun its assault on New Tokyo Plastic City's reconstruction. The Virus Titan. It's just lobbing cars everywhere. Oh, the calamity. Uh-oh. Here comes SH MonsterArts -1 entering the theater. It does not like the fact that the Virus Titan is taking on its skate park. Luckily, the citizens call upon the Squirrel Acorn Tank Brigade. Perhaps they will help out in this battle. But oh no, there has been a duplication. A second -1 has entered the theater. The Virus Titan doesn't seem to care as it continues to smash upon the city. Wait! Our friend Ice Rat Squirrel has returned to the battle and is trying to roll -1 Godzilla over, which he has done. The Virus Titan takes advantage and tickles poor Godzilla. Poor Godzilla cannot take it. Oh, the calamity. Hold on. A new development. That bug we squashed earlier. It just evolved! Now poor Tokyo Plastic City has a new problem on its hands. A terrible bug scorpion has launched its terror on the city. Godzilla Ultimates, will you help us? No, Godzilla Ultimates feels as if he has scaled out of this battle and decides to just turn around and walk away. Of course, destroying a few things with its tail. But behold, in its place, 54 is back and tagged in, taking on the bug creature and tossing it out of the city. The other Godzilla seems to have recovered from the tickling of the terrible Virus Titan, who is continuing to wreak havoc on the skate park in the middle of the city. Both Godzillas aim their primary weapon and atomic blast the virus to smithereens? No, the Virus Titan is too squirrely to be captured in that way. And it jumps and attaches itself to Godzilla. Now 54 Godzilla has the ultimate task of precision blasting the virus from Godzilla 2023. He fires! Virus is blown from the map! But so too is 2023. Rat Squirrel takes pity on 23 and takes him off screen to a rehabilitation center where he will fight again someday. And so once again, Godzilla 1954 has claimed New Tokyo Plastic City as its own. And is so up and coming, I have one more Godzilla SH MonsterArts figure to look at. Well, actually 2 more, as we have Godzilla here and Evolved. Godzilla just came in. Bandai Namco Evolved from SH MonsterArts. These were the 2 that are more familiar with the channel, so we want to check these out too. See a Finer Things Club of our modern American MonsterArts show featured from the New Empire. So these 2 should round out my SH MonsterArts collection. Or if I could just find a Megaguirus version Godzilla, that one is my ultimate favorite. And the battle continues. I really hope New Tokyo Plastic City can rebuild. If you liked today's video, please give us a swag, squirrel live, squam at your favorite most Godzilla you would like to see in a Finer Things Club. Thank you so much for watching today. That's what I have to say about that. And don't forget to send Glitch some fan mail.